In a culture informed by Jesus, we are encouraged to ask. That's a good thing which your son is experiencing. My problem is, on the other hand, Islam, which has inspired many cultures across the world, is telling you the very opposite. The way you take the entirety, the whole, is by going through one at a time. One, which is what I'm doing right now. If you ignore the one that I'm taking, then you're not taking the whole. So I'm showing the one. Please focus and you need to engage. Don't not answer the question at hand. Answer the question I have asked and explain how that fits into the entirety. Absolutely, that's intelligent because you have been.
Want to shake your hand.
You don't want to?
No, I've seen you.
Why
do-
not?
I don't like you. I don't want to shake your hand.
My first time here, so I have no
He
idea.
doesn't like me.
Yeah. Well,
What's not likable with me?
I have no idea. We'll
Whether
find
you're a
out.
blasphemer, you blaspheme the Prophet, you blaspheme us. I don't want to shake your hand.
Well, how did I blaspheme?
You're constantly blaspheming. Anyone who searches you up on YouTube.
I am
will
a
see you're
Christian.
blaspheming.
How did I blaspheme?
Brother, I don't want to shake your hand.
He lives in a Christian land. You are a Muslim, sir.
Yeah.
So if you have questions, is it a good idea to ask or not ask?
Well, it is, but it depends. What are you trying to ask? What are the
No,
answers?
if you don't even ask, you won't know what you're trying to ask.
Sure.
So if you have any question
Are you
about,
representing what religion?
I am a
sorry.
Christian.
Oh, you're a Christian. Okay.
yeah,
Right.
I am a Christian,
Yeah.
and Jesus Christ is marvelous. He said, "Ask, seek, knock." Many times when he gave parables, he went to the disciples and he asked them, "Did you understand everything that I told you?" And if you don't, please ask. Is the idea. And the disciples who were with Jesus could ask him things in private. What did you mean by that? What did you mean by this, and so on. Jesus could help people understand. And that's a good behavior. I'm assuming we would agree. If people have questions, particularly about life and death, about religion, you must be able to ask.
Yeah.
But Islam, on the other hand, is a religion where you are encouraged not to ask, which is not a good idea. And so that is exactly where I'm asking you. How is this
So where do you get that
idea
logic,
from?
idea from? Where it
But
says
would you
don't
agree
ask?
with me? If there is a question, if someone says don't ask, it's a bad idea.
So I think, and I could be taking it the wrong way. So there are two aspects to that. There's questions that you would want to ask because you're not sure. But there are certain things, at least Muslims, you believe in that God said you must do this, and there's a reason behind it, right? So you could ask, but it's better to just say, what if God or His Prophet told me to do this? There's a good reason, and we should follow that.
No, but
without
regardless,
asking.
regardless,
you
let me put it
can.
this way: if you have a doubt,
Yeah.
let's say tomorrow you're not sure,
Yeah.
Lord, maybe you are the only true God, maybe someone else is God, whatever question you might have in your mind, regardless of what Islam has taught you so far, if you genuinely have a question,
Yeah.
you must be able to ask.
Absolutely.
And if anyone tells you, when you genuinely have a question, that you can't ask, that's not a good idea.
only just read
That's
one
someone
line.
who is trying to keep one
Read the context around
Excuse
it.
me, sir,
What's the
one
context around it? You just read one line.
deal with the
Don't
context. I'm speaking to him.
But you just
If you
read
remain,
one line
excuse
and
me,
you're
sir.
going on about that.
Excuse me, sir.
What's the context around
I
it?
asked you earlier. You refused to answer. Now the gentleman is engaging. Please let him respond. Don't panic. Yeah, is this clear to you? Let him respond. He is an intelligent man. You might not be. So let him speak. So clearly, I can already begin seeing that. Surah 5, Ayat 101. It says, "O you who have believed." Surah Al-Ma'idah, Ayat 101. "O you who have believed, do not ask things, ask about things which, if they are shown to you, will distress you. Will distress you.
Okay.
Don't ask."
Yeah.
That's not a good idea.
So again, I think to his point, there's certain. It depends. That one line or that sentence doesn't define Islam. So within the book, there are so many things that it talks about.
Sure.
That one line. So from my personal experience, the way I read that is this: my father just passed away, right?
I'm
last
sorry
month.
to hear that. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, we believe as Muslim, when you go in your grave,
Yeah.
there are certain things that happen inside. If you're a good person, good Muslim, your grave could be very peaceful and a safe place. But if you're not a good Muslim and you've done bad things in your life, there's a punishment that takes place in the grave. This is what I know, and I'm not a scholar, I don't know a lot about it, right? But our Prophet ﷺ said, if I told you what happens in the grave to the people who are non-believers or done bad things, you will stop burying your dead people in the grave because you're worried what's going to happen to them inside. So it's better not to ask what
But
exactly.
that's a specific
No,
example.
but that's my point. So
A
I can
specific
relate.
example could
Right.
not be used to debunk an important problem that I'm pointing out
No,
to.
no, no. I get it. I
This
get
is
it.
the problem.
Yeah,
Please-
but that's
please-
just one example that
Sure.
I can relate to this.
I
don't think
completely
it's saying
understand.
this is how Islam is. Don't
But
ask.
please, I completely
My son
understand.
here, he asks a lot of questions.
Sure.
Trust me. And sometimes he makes me wonder. Wait, how do I know this? Where did I get that information from? Should I just say don't ask? I always encourage him because you know what? As a youth growing up in the Western world,
Yeah.
that is the right approach to ask. For me, it's different. I'm older. Like my grandma, my parents have taught me things I've read. He hasn't, so it makes sense for him to ask. I would never. tell
So
him
we
don't
both
ask.
agree.
Yeah,
If your son asks questions,
Right.
that's really good.
yeah.
And you also agreed that's because he grew up in the Western world.
Sure.
And so thanks to the Western world that you're allowed to ask questions. And you also like that thanks to the Western world.
Right.
But my problem right now is not about the Western world because the Western world has been mostly been informed by Jesus, mostly. And so in a culture which is informed by Jesus, in a culture informed by Jesus, we are encouraged to ask. That's a good thing which your son is experiencing. My problem is, on the other hand, Islam, which has inspired many cultures across the world, is telling you the very opposite. And that is where I completely agree. Being able to ask a question or ask any question you might have doesn't define the entirety of Islam. I completely agree. But it defines a very important aspect of a religion. It defines a very important aspect of a culture, of inquisitiveness and finding answers. So you're growing in knowledge, you're making sure you're on the right path. Let me tell you, you gave an example earlier. I'll give you a couple of examples. Now clearly, it might trouble you entirely if you genuinely ask the question, does Islam lead me to life? That'll trouble you because the real answer is that it won't. And so that will trouble you despite the fact that perhaps you grew up your entire life as a Muslim.
Right.
But the fact that it would trouble you, doesn't mean you don't ask that. Because you ask and find and you leave Islam. Leaving Islam is the best course of action in this regard. And that is where what I find in the Quran is the Quran prevents you from doing this. And so let me read this again. What does it say? O you who have believed. Surah 5, Al-Ma'idah, Ayat 101. O you who have believed. They have already believed. For whatever reason, without reason, they have believed in some areas. Do not ask about things which, if they are shown to you, will distress you. Don't ask.
Yeah.
Is this a good idea?
So again, and maybe just me because it happened to me recently, I take that and read that as example. Maybe it doesn't apply to everything across the board, but in that particular situation, if I said, no, I want to know what happens to someone who is in their grave, if it's good or bad, I want to know.
Yeah.
And let's say God says, you know what? I told you don't ask. If shown to you, it will cause you trouble. And I see what happens. Now, I've seen it, and now I'm distressed. Right?
Sure.
Now I'm scared and whatever you want to call it. And then, my family, I go tell them, oh my God, I saw this. Right? Now they
That's
also,
one example.
No, but the point is that is one
And
it's saying,
my dear friend, one
yeah,
second. Clearly,
yeah,
when you ask a million questions,
yeah.
with answers to 10 of those, you could be in deep trouble and you might have been in a better state without asking. No problem. Because you're already on the right track. No problem.
But I don't think this is not a blanket
One
statement
second,
for
one
the whole
second.
religion, though.
But no, this is a blanket.
No, this is
Listen,
this is not
what-
right. Hassan, am I right?
It's not a blanket statement.
So,
You don't take
help me understand.
You don't take a single verse in isolation. You take the book in its entirety. In the Quran, it also says, "Afala ta'qilun." Do you not?
You know how
question things?
entirety works?
Huh?
How does entirety work?
Entirety.
Entirety, how does it work?
You take the book in its whole,
Yeah, but how do you take a book as a whole?
with the entire context.
Yeah, but how do you do?
You're taking
I'll tell you how you do. You take the way you take the entirety, the whole, is by going through one at a time.
Yeah, sure.
One, which is what I'm doing right now.
Sure.
If you ignore the one that I'm taking, then you're not taking the whole.
but you
So I'm showing the one. Please focus and you need to engage. Don't not answer the question at hand. answer the question I have asked and explain how that fits into the entirety. You need
Don't
to.
take it in isolation.
Sure. I'm not isolating, but I'm asking one ayat at a time. This is the first ayat I am asking. I'll add more also to this. What's the first one? O you who have believed, do not ask about things which, if they are shown to you, will distress you. I'll give a good example for this. You gave an example of a question which perhaps need not have been asked, and even if you hadn't asked, you wouldn't have lost much, which is if Islam is true, if something happens in a grave, even if you did not know what exactly, you're still fine. But I'm going to give you another example of a thing which would have benefited you if you had asked, which would have also distressed you, which is Islam true? And the answer is terrible. No, it isn't. That will distress you. Yeah, Islam is not true, and that answer will distress you for maybe people who leave brainwashing systems, really go through trauma for a long time. People who leave Islam, people who leave Jehovah's Witnesses and other similar brainwashing cults go through trauma because they were not forced to ask. They believed in something without evidence in the times past. So that is where that's one example of why you should be able to ask, even if you think things could be distressing when the answers are presented, because you need to make sure you are on the right track. And so asking is still useful, even though amongst a million questions, 10 of them could distress you. And that is where, let me add one more detail. Surah 3, I already read Surah 5, Ayat 101. I'll add one more. Surah 3, Ayat 7. One more detail, which again, in every area which speaks about things that you don't understand, the Quran's edict is very clear. Don't ask. And I'll demonstrate that by showing one more example. Surah 3, Ayat 7. What does Surah 3, Ayat 7 say? It is He who has sent down to you the book. In it are verses precise. They are the foundation of the book. And others unspecific, i.e. imprecise. As for those in whose hearts is deviation, they will follow that of it which is unspecific, seeking discord and seeking an interpretation. You see, the crime that they do is, you are told in the Quran, there are some things which are clear, some things which are not clear, and you are being accused. Muslims are being accused when they want to find out things which are not clear as to what they really mean. You are accused of seeking an interpretation, and therefore in your hearts is deviation. In other words, trying to find even details concerning the Quran is apparently evil, and that stands contrary to what Jesus said, ask, seek, knock. That stands contrary to what you said your son enjoys in the Western world, which enjoys a Christian foundation. In the UK, you are allowed to ask. You are encouraged to ask. In Islamic world, you're not supposed to ask. If you ask, your heads may roll, and that's terrible. Help me understand what in the Quran contradicts what I've said so far.
So again, I think...
Help me understand what in the Quran contradicts what I... Please listen to me. Help me understand what in the Quran contradicts what I have said so far and tells you any doubt you have about the Quran, please ask. Is there any such verse in the Quran?
So of course, our Prophet said what? He said, go seek knowledge, even if you've got to go travel to China. Back then, who knows, China was like thousands of miles away. It's nothing wrong with asking and seeking knowledge. So I think you have to separate, right, a human mind that's looking for answers and the information that God and His Prophet has already given to us. There's reasons behind the way they say certain things, and you have to, as a believer, believe in when they tell you, listen, some secrets are better left secrets. Don't seek too much, don't ask, because they can distress you. But then they also will tell you to
your
ask
prophet
questions.
says, go seek knowledge, even if it takes you to China. Where is that?
What do you mean? It's a
You want to
hadith.
pull it up?
So in other words,
It's not. It may not be in the Quran, but it's a.
you've
authentic
gone to a
hadith.
secondary source, first of all. You've gone to a secondary, centuries late source. Guess what? Do you know one of the important principles that the Islamic, quote unquote, Islamic scholars use to negate some hadiths as false hadiths, lying hadiths, is if they contradict the Quran. If any hadith contradicts the Quran, the hadith is wrong, even though already pre-qualification they are late.
What hadith are
This-
you talking about?
You are saying some hadith says go seek knowledge even if it takes you to China. But Surah 3, Ayat 7 says don't do it. Surah 3, Ayat 7. Let me read again. Surah 3, Ayat 7. What does it say? It is He who has sent down to you the book. The book meaning the Quran. It is He who sent down to you the Quran. In it are verses precise. Some verses are precise. They are the foundation of the book. And then it goes on, and others unspecific, meaning imprecise. It's not clear. Some are clear, some are unclear. And it goes on, as for those in whose hearts is deviation. It's essentially saying some people have hearts which are deviant. Deviation. Whose hearts are deviant? The Quran says. I'm not saying. It is the Quran which says. Whose hearts are deviant? They will follow that of it which is unspecific. You know the portions which are unspecific, not clear, seeking discord and seeking an interpretation. So these are people who want to find out what some...
Could you read the brackets, please?
1 second.
Could you read the brackets?
Excuse me, sir. Please stay quiet.
It says suitable to them.
You so far
Which
did
means-
not engage.
So
If you
you're-
stay quiet right now.
literally proving your
What?
point.
Now please listen carefully.
But you're not reading
We can bring the...
everything. But you're not
Tafsir.
reading everything.
Excuse me, sir.
But you're not
please.
reading everything.
You didn't let me finish.
But you're not reading everything.
You didn't let me
You're
finish.
manipulating to the people around you.
This is your
You're
drama.
literally proving Allah's point.
Your drama.
You're manipulating
Okay,
the
listen.
words, his words.
I'm in the middle of
to prove
reading
your
right
point.
now. What does Surah 3, Ayat 7 says? About some parts of the Quran, if you ask for interpretation, ask for meaning, you are deviant. That's what let me finish. So whatever hadith says go to China, go to Russia is clearly not from the same source, i.e. the Islamic Allah. It's from some other source. Who knows who said what? But now the Quran is saying, if you have questions even about portions of the Quran, don't ask. Add to that. So please help me understand. What is it referring to? Surah 3, Ayat, if you please stay quiet.
Those who
Surah
take,
3,
those who
Ayat
take
7.
the unclear verses and find an interpretation to suit their own whims and desires. When you take an unclear verse, for example,
Wait, like what?
example-
Choose an example. Yeah.
Alif Lam Mim, not everyone knows the meaning of that. We
Does
don't
anyone know the meaning
no
of it?
one knows the meaning of Alif
So
Lam
no
Mim.
one knows.
No one knows the meaning of Alif Lam Mim.
Sure.
Which is why we're told not to question what Alif Lam Mim means.
Also, Alif Lam Mim shows up almost in all of the Quran,
Yeah.
in all of the surahs, and you're told you can't even ask why.
I think you're talking about the one.
Yeah, one second. I want to. No. You're telling me. 1 second. Surah 3, for example, Alif Lam Mim. Surah 2, for example, if I go to Surah 2 and the starting, almost very few surahs don't start with these,
But before
magical
you go to
words.
that, can I
And
answer
you
your
are telling me you can't even ask why it starts in that way,
Alif Lam Mim is a mystery. We know it's a
and
mystery.
you're not even
Certain
supposed
things
to
are
ask.
Certain things are mysteries,
So-
and
so
that's
I
fine.
But look, the question is simple. Are you telling me that you're not even supposed to ask a basic question about a pattern that shows up in almost every surah of the Quran? Is that what you're telling me?
This is the difference.
That's the height of brainwashing to me. Is that what you're saying me? So you said your son asks important
No,
questions.
he does, of course. But here's the difference.
But he is now saying he can't ask question.
He can ask questions.
Yeah.
That doesn't make him.
So Alif Lam Mim,
Right.
why does it show up in most of the Quran?
So,
sir?
so again, this is the difference between asking questions, but when you realize if the word is, hey, it is okay. If it's ambiguous or not clear, there's a reason behind it. There's a reason
So
why
please
God
help
made
me
that
understand.
way. Again,
Why is something like Alif Lam Mim, something like that, not exactly the same every time, something like that, it shows up in almost every surah of the Quran. Why?
Well, so I think
Did you ever ask this question?
Right.
Why?
So what he's talking about is specifically those three letters together like that, right? If God Himself is saying it, this is where the difference is as a
I'm asking you
believer.
right now.
No, as
why?
a believer.
Why is it there?
No, you can ask why, but if there's no
I am
answer,
asking right now.
Well, I don't. If
Please
we're
engage.
seek not
Why?
to ask.
Why is it there?
No, again, there's nothing wrong with asking, but if we don't have an answer, I'm not going to make one up.
Do
and
you
give
have an answer?
I don't have an answer.
Did you ever
because
ask this question?
I'm sure.
Did you ever ask this question? Sorry, just a little bit.
Wait, this gentleman has an answer.
Did once, just one. No. So you wasted time last time, sir. Please. No. Excuse me, sir. I'm speaking to you. Oh, you wasted time last time. big time. You're pushing me right now. You're pushing me right now. I'm asking you. So, Surah 3. Excuse me, sir. One second. I'll come to you later. You're pushing me right now. Please, if you don't touch me, I'm not interested in Al Zud. Please, if you stay there. Thank you, sir. Now,
I do have to leave soon, but anyways.
So Surah 3. Shall we at least? I'll tell you why. I'll give you a reason as to
have a
what.
reason?
I have a reason.
Okay.
So
Let's
what did
hear it.
I? Yeah, absolutely. That's intelligent because you have
I don't
been.
want to shake your hand.
You don't want to?
No, I've seen your
Why
video.
not?
I don't like you. I don't
Are you
want to
serious?
shake your hand.
My first time here, so I have no
He
idea.
doesn't like me.
Yeah. Well,
What's not likable with me?
I have no idea. We'll
Whether
find
you're a
out.
blasphemer, you blaspheme the Prophet, you blaspheme us. I don't want to shake your hand.
Well, how did I blaspheme?
You're constantly blaspheming. Anyone who searches you up on YouTube.
I am
will
a
see you're
Christian.
blaspheming.
How did I blaspheme?
Brother, I don't want to shake your hand.
He lives in a Christian land.
Well, he doesn't live here, but yes.
Yeah, wherever he lives,
Right.
you said in the Western world, he doesn't want to shake my hand. And this is the level to which you've grown. I am a Christian. I am not expected to uphold Islam in any manner, shape, or form. I will critically ask questions which clearly you have failed to ask, which you have been brainwashed not to ask. I will ask. Just because you've been asked not to ask, if you expect Christians also not to ask, it'll be riculous.
So there's a
And so once,
difference between
I'll finish.
asking,
Once, but that's not what I'm dealing with. I'm just.
with the intention to really learn, right? If you want to learn something,
Excuse
you
me.
ask.
So far-
If you smear
so
it
far,
with,
excuse
oh,
me.
Your religion says this, Quran
So
says this,
far,
that's
I have
not
engaged,
asking,
my dear friend. So far, I have engaged with you in a friendly manner.
No, of course.
I've asked you.
Of course you have.
I've asked you deep questions for which I'm expecting answers. You tried giving some answers.
not a
He
scholar,
also.
number one.
He also once.
Right.
Once he also did. This is exactly what I do week in week out. Why I do this? Because I'm not bound to necessarily uphold Islam.
Yeah.
I'm not a Muslim. I am a Christian.
Sure.
I couldn't, even if I was a Muslim, I will read this and oh, this fellow isn't, this religion is asking me not to ask a question. I wouldn't be a Muslim. I will leave Islam. Now let me give you, and for your son,
So would you not
he's still.
read the whole book?
I've read the whole book multiple times, and I will therefore give you an answer right now. To your son,
Yeah.
he is a young man. You seem like a better man. Certainly, thank you very much wherever you're from. But your son needs to learn how to behave in a civil manner,
Well, he
especially.
hasn't said anything to you.
No, he said he will refuse to shake my hand.
refuse to shake your
On
hand,
what
but
basis? On what basis?
Because he
On the
said-
basis that I blaspheme against his religion.
Right. So
I am not bound to not blaspheme his religion. Just
that-
because he has a religion.
Right.
Can you imagine if I said, oh, you are a Muslim and therefore I won't shake your hand?
yeah, but that wouldn't offend me. I'm like, okay.
Oh, why,
But
that,
the- but the
my,
thing
this is not the basis by which,
But
my
that-
dear friend,
That doesn't make you uncivil.
my dear friend,
right?
one second. No, this is in the UK, we have such a thing called Prevent program.
Okay.
And which is an anti-terror, anti-extremist program.
Okay.
And according to anti-extremist program, we can actually look at people, and if we see behavior which is uncordial in public space, we can genuinely ask the police and other authorities to follow up.
Okay.
So if someone in a public space, while genuinely merely asking questions about a religion, refuses to shake my hand, I would be a little bit wary.
Is that
And I
the
would
first
think,
time that's happened to you?
oh, multiple times. And this is one of the problems with the Prevent program. You know, one of the problems with the Prevent program we are having in the UK, one of the problem with the Prevent program in the UK is that we have too many such people. In other words, Islam seems to be. Now, let me go to the answer anyway. Let me go to the answer. What did I say? Surah 3, Ayat 7 says, sure. Surah 3, Ayat 7 says, don't ask. If you ask, your hearts are deviant.
No, that's not
Surah
true.
5, Ayat 1.
My interpretation of that is different than what you're saying.
Please, quickly.
Okay, so
because
again,
I tried
and
so
I know
many
we have to
times.
go too, but there's different
I'll give an
levels,
answer for why,
there's
but once you
different
finish.
levels of iman, okay, which I don't know if you know what that means or how to explain it. Like your devotion to your, if you are the weak person, right? Shaitan or the devil will whisper and try to make you deviate and question things that can put you on the wrong path. So again, I take the Quran.
This
and
is
the
this
word,
is my dear friend.
No,
this
but
this
listen,
will
and
not
I-
cut. This will
no,
not.
but my point is,
this will not.
If it's
be,
gonna start putting doubts in your mind, because that's what Shaitan wants.
I'll give you a
anyway,
simple example.
Right? Then
I'll
you're
give
gonna
you a simple
deviate,
example.
Then you're gonna deviate.
Can I give you a
So-
simple
so
example?
that statement tells you.
This Quran says, Some portions are unspecific and therefore you can't. Which portions is it talking about apart from the Alif Lam Mim? Any other portions?
Oh, no, I'm
You
not-
won't even know, would you?
No, but again, my point. If
The
you
question
read
is
the whole
simple.
book,
Would
I
you
don't
know which portions?
But here's what I will tell you.
But please help me understand.
If
This is
there are
important.
portions,
This
right,
is important.
My faith
Would you
say-
happen to know which portions it is referring to?
I do not.
In other words,
But
you
I-
would. Now, this is the problem. This is the problem. The problem is, even this claim is unspecific. You won't even know what questions you
No,
could
but
ask.
If you read it.
If you listen, please, carefully. Because you won't even know which parts are the imprecise, unspecific, you won't even know which parts you can have questions on. You won't even know.
Right.
And so the point, one second, let me finish. And therefore, the end result is Muslims walk around terrified because they won't know what questions they could ask. And for all that you know, your local imam could terrify you and say, any question that you ask for which he doesn't have an answer, he could say, don't ask.
No,
Now,
but-
I'll give you an answer to the question I've asked. I will tell you precisely why the Quran says don't ask. Even though you refuse to shake my hand, you're a younger man. I am 42 years of age. You might be 20, maybe reaching 20 soon.
I'm 16.
You are 16. You're a very young man. Your father is a lovely man. I'm quite enjoying my conversation with him. And to you, my dear friend, I'd like to comment to you. We are fellow human beings. Before we could agree on religion, we could at least agree on fellow humanity. And we can say, look, I can shake your father's hand, I can shake your hand, even if we disagree on religion. Because in the process of discussing, I might help you out of your religion, I might help you realize your religion is wrong. I might. I'm not saying I would, I might. Therefore, consider that possibility. Now, Surah 5, Ayat 101 we read. Surah 3, Ayat 7 we read. I will go to the precise answer for why the questions are not supposed to be asked. And the answer is in Surah Al-Jumu'ah, Ayat 2. What does it say? Surah Al-Jumu'ah, Ayat 2 says, it is He, the Islamic Allah, it is He who has sent among the unlettered. Unlettered meaning illiterates. It is He who has sent among the illiterates a messenger from themselves. So from a crowd of illiterates, there is a messenger, which clearly means he himself is illiterate. And to them, he therefore, because all of them are illiterates, he recites. He recites. Why does he recite? Why does he not ask them to read? Because they are illiterates. And you and I know Quran, right throughout history, the main mode of communication, Muslims would claim, is recitation. And the reason is, the main audience for Islam are illiterates. Illiterates are not bound to be able to read and write, and therefore people merely recite and they receive. In the process, no questions asked. You are illiterates.
So I feel-
You are illiterates. No questions asked. In other words, the conclusion. I'll allow you to respond. The conclusion is very simple. Islam is a religion of illiteracy.
That's not
Knowledge is not welcome in Islam.
That's not true.
the reason.
That's not true, Baba.
And so, if you need to contradict me,
Yeah.
what does it mean?
Right.
Recite.
Means read.
Could Muhammad read?
No, but it was saying repeat.
So
after
clearly,
Gabriel.
which is recitation.
Yeah, sure.
Recite.
Well, but-
So recitation is that of the unlettered.
I have it already. I have to go.
Recitation.
No more extra mics. No more extra mics. We're
Please
leaving in
listen.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
I
we're
just
leaving.
came- This is
Recitation.
my-
The entire goal
This is interesting.
is that this is a religion for the illiterates. Beginning
not
with Muhammad. Ikra, recite. Illiteracy. No one could question, no one could cross-check.
Did you take math in high school or any level?
I am a computer science engineer,
Oh,
so I know math.
you know
yeah.
science, math, algebra, and all that
I
stuff.
know, I know,
Who
yeah.
are these people who created all this stuff?
Who are these people?
What was their religion?
You tell me.
Algebra. You took algebra?
You tell me,
Yeah.
sir.
Is a Muslim from the Middle East.
Right. This
You
is the
think
nonsense,
so?
absolute
No. My
nonsense.
point is, if
Whoa,
Muslims
whoa,
are
whoa, whoa.
illiterate,
Excuse me. Excuse me.
you think that some of the biggest names, scientists,
You
scholars,
see the best
mathematicians-
response your father has?
No, but I'm saying you're saying it's
One
illiterate.
second. One second.
They're not. We're
Do you
not
know the best?
illiterate.
Did you hear the best response your father has? Your father has.
Boy, but he-
To you also. The best response is not sticking to the point at hand. I did not
but-
say. Please listen. I did not say only illiterates are Muslims. That's not what I said.
But you saying it's a
Please
it's
listen
a
carefully.
religion for illiterates.
Sure. Please
That's
listen.
not true.
Please listen carefully. My point is not that only illiterates become Muslims. That's not my point. Clearly, you're not illiterate. You maybe are not. Clearly, of course, you guys are not illiterate. That's not the point I made. The point I rather made was Islam as a religion is meant to be for illiterates. And that is why, I'll finish. And that is why from an illiterate to illiterates through recitation, no questions asked. But we also know in the span of Islam's history, as the brainwashing continued amongst the illiterates, massive physical force was used. What did the caliphs do? What did Muhammad do? Go around with swords. And so, in the process, whereas it should have only remained a religion of illiterates, because a sword, many swords, thousands and millions of swords were involved, even literates were forced into Islam. But the problem is, after they were forced into Islam, they were made to behave as illiterates. And that is why you both, being literates, spending most of your time in the Western world, are now saying, oh, in relation to some things, I won't ask questions. That's not good. You should behave as literates and say, I will always ask, recite. I will always ask.
No, listen. Again,
Asking questions.
I want to conclude by saying, sure, you taking one surah ayah and you making it as a broad statement for all of Islam.
No.
Then you're making a claim it's a religion of the illiterates. That back then, yes.
I'll give you one
But
last
again,
chance, please.
You
I
cannot
showed
force-
two forces.
you can't
I showed
force
two
someone-
ayats.
No, you said
Both of
sword
which
and-
say,
What about the Crusades?
I said
They
two
were swords
ayats.
as well, killing
I
people
said
also.
two ayats
You can only spread any
against
religion
the
by
Muslims,
force.
yes, trying to occupy Christian lands. Absolutely.
How many-
The Muslims caused trouble in Christian land, in Europe, in Jerusalem, in Israel also. So same topic, sir, not a different topic. Now please, I'll ask one.
I really have to go. but
Sure.
okay.
But listen carefully. I showed you ayats from the Quran. You were saying I only showed a few ayats, but you did not show any ayat to contradict the points I made. In other words, in relation to whether you can ask questions or not, I have showed you all that is
No, but
relevant.
you are
Do you
looking
know
at-
of one ayat anywhere which contradicts what I have said and says,
So why would there
ask
be-
a question about every ayat of the
But
Quran?
listen,
Is
why-
there any such ayat
right.
anywhere?
So why would there be a contradiction to God's own words?
If
why
it is
would
God, you're assuming.
Why would he tell you?
No, you're
don't
assuming
ask, and then
because
the
you-
next eye he said, no, ask.
Where?
That would make no
Where
sense.
does he say
No,
ask?
he doesn't say that for a reason.
Exactly.
Because you're saying, show me an ayah. So why would there be an ayah? That would make it actually not legit.
In other words,
one hand
we
you're
can
saying
agree.
One thing, and one hand you're saying
In other
something
words,
different.
we can agree that across the Quran, the net result about the behavior of being able to ask questions, even about the Quran,
That's your
and
conclusion.
no, that is a conclusion. Please listen. No, you're contradicting yourself. That's a conclusion based on ayats in the Quran. And you are saying there is no ayat to contradict this. And therefore, based on ayats in the Quran, which are on the subject matter at hand, we can all conclude Islam is a religion where questions are not encouraged. You're not supposed to ask questions. So you must be happy that you live in the Western world, which is inspired by Jesus. Listen to what Jesus said. Jesus said, ask, seek, knock. Those who ask will receive. Those who knock, doors will be open to
What
you.
have you received?
Oh, many things in my life, my dear friend.
From God directly or
Oh,
from
absolutely,
where?
many things in
So
my
you-
life.
you've
It's
gone
a
like
very
you
long
learned.
story. Guess what, my dear friends? About the Bible, Christians ask questions all over the place, and this is why we have the Cambridge University.
Is that
Well,
why
please
there's so
listen.
many versions of the Bible?
That's a, that.
They've
If I
been,
ask a
like,
question, you'll fumble there.
Quran is
Please,
God's word.
excuse me. There's no version. No, that's not true. This is no, wait.
It's
This
not
is
God's
deviating,
word?
right?
No?
No, it's not.
So
It's
whose
clearly
word is
not.
that?
This clearly.
Satan.
Please, one second, please,
Satanic
one
verses.
second, brother. One second.
Satanic
Please,
verses.
please listen.
That's
carefully.
your opinion. but
Please
no,
listen
no,
carefully.
no.
I will tell you one thing important, my
It's
dear
written-
friend.
oh, it's written
Please,
in the Quran.
please,
Yeah.
please,
It
one
says it's a word
James,
of
one
God.
second, once. I would like to.
I feel bad for
Please,
these people.
please,
I really-
Mama, please, my dear friend, please, please, one second, please, one
It says
second.
what?
Please, one second. I would like for you to please. So, sure. I would conclude. Jesus, on the other hand, asked people to ask, seek, knock, and that is exactly why we have the Cambridge University, Oxford University, Stanford University, across the Western world. You have universities that have come up fields.
they're teaching
I'll
you
finish.
algebra that
I'll
came from
finish.
a Muslim.
I'll finish. I'll finish,
How
and
does
then
that make sense?
I'll finish, and then you can
These
try.
universities
I'll
were-
finish,
when were they
and then
built?
you can try.
When were they built?
I will finish, and then you can respond.
Do you know how many Muslim
I will
scholars
finish.
and
I will
scientists,
finish. You can try
their
again.
studies
I will
have
finish.
led to this.
My dear friend, I will finish, and then you can try giving some specific.
I love to. Next time.
Universities, so much so, even in the even in the Islamic world today, we have universities and educational institutions set up by who? By the Western world. Americans coming in, setting up international schools. Why? Because what is overflowing from here, thanks to Jesus. Because you have been trained not to ask questions, even though you have come here. But who have come from here to there, encourage you to ask questions. They have built. So you have, thank you.
We're talking about different contexts.
Islam has produced nothing. Islam has produced ignorance
Nice
and
meeting you,
illiteracy.
by the way.
Good to
Nice
see
meeting
you.
you. Okay, thank you.
God's
Thank you
blessings.
so much.
Thank you very much. Would you like to shake my hand at least now? Unfortunate, but thank you. Sure. You want to add detail? So help me understand. Is there any portion of the Quran anywhere which contradicts what I have said?